All right, we're going to do a few more practice holds, entries, and things like that. Let's get the airplane up in the air. Go ahead and get it up. Ooh, let's get up in altitude first. And we'll keep it at like 4,000 feet or so. $4,500. Let's do that one. And there we go. Set to 45. Okay. Let's go direct to BGQ as the first step. So first make sure that we are tuned into 112.5. And we're going to use our primary GPS similar to the airplane. And hit direct BGQ. So we'll do a couple of these, and then what I'd like to do is do an arc from a VOR and then an arc intercepting into an ILS. So we'll just start off with we'll do two regular entries, one standard, one non-standard turns, and then we'll do one from the VOR. And I'll end the video there, and we can then go ahead and try the other VOR things that we wanted to try, or will want to try at some point. Okay, so we gotta make sure our OBS is set to VOR. We're using one that is the VOR. So we'll go ahead and there you go. So we're flying a heading of 060. Let's first figure out what the heading to the VOR is, and in this case it is 010. So let's start our turn. It's probably going to be closer to 360 at this point as we get closer and closer to the, so we'll go ahead and overshoot a little bit, the VOR. So let's just say we're heading to the VOR, and tower says, or ATC says, hold over the Big Lake VOR, standard turns on the 030 radial. So real quick here, standard turn, so the right side gets lifted up. We'll draw a line across the compass card. 030 is right here, so that's going to be at PTD, so teardrop. And when we're entering teardrop, we're going to enter left add 30, right subtract 30. So we're going to actually subtract 30 from 030, so it's going to be 090. 360, excuse me. North is what I meant to say. I don't know why I said the other number. We're going to fly north for a minute. Now that the flag flipped, let's go ahead and start our timer for 1 minute. Outbound. And so when we fly outbound, when we want to come back inbound, we're going to basically, since we want to fly on the 030 radial, we're going to fly, we're going to turn right, since we're doing right turns. Right? We turn the same direction in the turn in a teardrop entry. Excuse me. And in this case, we're going to fly the reciprocal of 030, which will be 210 to fly inbound to the course. So we can start that. Twist, turn time, twist, throttle, talk, right? So 1 minute's coming up. We're going to start our turn. So remember, it said hold on the 030 radial, standard turns, or right turns. And when we were entering the hold, it was, oh, he started doing left, and that messes the whole thing up. Dang it. Yep. We gotta be careful with the autopilot. When you go to one side, so I meant to fly and turn right to 210, so we're going to do that. No worries, we're going to fix that. You got to do it in parts because 210 is closer to the left from north, and that's why I thought, oh, I'm going to go left. That's why I did that. So again, you got to be careful with the GPS there. And good thing I was slightly paying attention to that. So it's going to drift us off a little bit, so I'm going to help the airplane out a little bit. And this 210 radio should come in, or flying to 210 radio to get on the 030 radio. Our timing is going to be a little messed up with this particular example, but that's okay. We'll eventually get sorted out here. Since it's not coming in, I'm going to go ahead and just go a little bit to the left, wait for it to slide in a little bit more, and then twist it to 210 as it starts coming in. So I'm basically correcting my hold. As it's coming in, we can start turning to the right, 210. There we go. Now we're doing a better job. And we're flying to the Big Lake VOR. We are on, because we're going to, we read the tail, so we are on the 030 radial. We're flying towards the 210. We're trying to get to the 210 radial. That's what this means. And we're doing right-hand turns. Once we cross the VOR, then we're going to do right-hand holds around the VOR. So we're at the flag flipped. We turn 030, but we're going to turn right and make sure the airplane starts turning right. There you go, to 030. And then we're going to fly that once the wings are level. For 1 minute. And that should look a touch better. Not the best hold I've done. There you go. Kind of did a weird teardrop entry, and now we're going to do a racetrack right around this side of things here. So now that is coming in, it's doing the racetrack, and then outbound, and then they'll do the racetrack back in. And that's how we do the hold there. Let's try something different. We'll put the airplane a little bit ways away and then pause the simulator. I got my trusty puppy with me, and she wants to fly herself too. She loves flying, and that's why she's like, hey, why am I not in this airplane? Doesn't feel like we're flying. Alright, she's actually watching the screen with me, literally beside me. Okay, so what I wanted to do first is draw a couple things out. So we did one teardrop. What we did was, here's the VOR. this was the 030 radial. And where were we coming from? Forget where we were coming from exactly in that last example. We wanted to do a right turn, hold, right? And the idea was, yeah, we were somewhere, I believe here, and we came in, teardrop, or should have teardrop, came in and started that right-hand turn, and then right into that inbound course, outbound course, and around. Okay, so we're going to do let's do an example here where we are this is the VOR, and we're going to be, again, south of the VOR. And let's say ATC says hold on the 180 degree radial non-standard turns. Well, in this case, it's really easy because it's going to be the 180 is this radial. We are south of it anyway. So it's going to be a direct entry. And we're going to see that with our trick that we use, the pencil method you could call it, or the thumb method over the CDI of the VOR. And that's going to be the racetrack that we're going to do. Left-hand turns around the VOR, right? And remember that if this is the CDI and we're going to the VOR, right? Left-hand turns, we're going to raise the left-hand side of our pencil or our line. And we're going to look for wherever 180 is. And if we're flying to we should be flying 360 to the VOR, and 180 should be on the bottom because we're on the 180 radial. And because it's toilet paper for left-hand turns, this is in the direct turn or direct entry zone of things. Okay. And my mic a little bit further away from me there. Sorry about that. Hopefully that picked it up. All right, so we'll try that. So like I said, it should be 360 and flying roughly to the VOR. And we're going to fix that to make life easier for us, get us on that 180. There you go, there's the 180 radial. We'll get a little closer. Okay, and left-hand turns. ATC says hold over the 180 radial, left-hand turns. 180 is on this. Remember, we draw the line here across, left, raise the left a little bit, 15 degrees or so. TPD, D, direct entry. So we're going to, just as soon as the flag flips, we're going to turn left-hand turns around the VOR. And that's essentially how we do the hold. It's going to be really straightforward. As soon as this goes from, we're going to start that left-hand turn to a 180 heading. That's the outbound course. We don't need to twist anything because we're going to want to go back into the to the 3/6 radial. And we're going to do 1 minute turns. That's essentially it. So if we speed this up just a touch so that we're not sitting around waiting for the airplane to get to the VOR. 1.5, 3, 1. All right, so we're half a mile away now. So we're just waiting. If this GPS failed, let's say, all I'm waiting to do is wait till this flag flips. So as the flag flips from, We're going to start our left-hand turn. To south. Turn, time. So we're going to get ready with our timer. So I'm just going to pause it there, and then once this flips again to 2, I'm going to start the timer, and then I'll stop going in the 180 heading when the timer hits 1 minute, or in this case, because it's just an up count, when it says 9:45 instead of 8:45. There's the flipped flag. Start the timer. Waiting for 9:45. I like to tell myself turn, time, twist. Do I need to twist? Nope, I'm already set to go. That's exactly what I want to do, is go inbound towards the VOR on 360, towards the 360 radial, telling us that we're going to be on the 180 radial. We're holding on the 180 radial per ATC instructions. 9:30, so 9:45 is when I start my left-hand turn, because it's non-standard to 360. So 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. So we'll start our turn. And once the wings level, we'll want to start the timer as well to make sure we're going inbound for 1 minute. All right, nice and just a little off, so we might need to recenter, or just a touch off course. Half a deflection, just a little off there. And we can kind of fix that, just go overshoot by 10 or 15 degrees if you want, and then there's our level turn. 11 minutes was when it leveled off, so the 12th minute in this timer is when we'll want to make sure we are crossing the VOR. If we're too early, that means we need to go longer on the outbound leg. It might be winds, it might just be a mistake that you made. If it's too long, like if it's 1 minute and 20 seconds, you want to shorten the outbound leg, the outbound part of the turn, by 20 seconds. So you just have to judge accordingly. They want you to keep it within 1 minute turns around the VOR. We're getting close, so we're getting into that zone of confusion. So let's take a look at the map and see how we did. Not too bad, not great, but not too bad. There's the hold, racetrack. So there's 2 entries. Let's do something a little unusual. So let's say we're going towards from Big Lake, we're going on the 360 radial towards Talkeetna. So let's say we're going towards Talkeetna. And we're flying along. And I am going to move us to help us save some time here. All right. So we're on the 360 radial. We are on the 360 radial because we're going northbound. It says we're going northbound, and this is on the northbound. And it says we're from. So that, remember, when we're going from, we're going the same direction as from. We're going away from the VOR. That's correct. That means we are on that radial. Remember, the radials are emanating from the VOR. Let's just say, let's hypothetically say that ATC says hold on the 10 DME of the 360 radial of the Big Lake VOR. And let's just say, they might say hold south of the 10 DME. Let me go on my website. Oh, whiteboard. It's unusual. I've not had this happen, I think, to me. Here's the VOR, and we're on, this is the 360 radial, right? And we're somewhere on this radial. And let's say this is the 10 DME, 10 miles away from it. They would say hold south of the 10 DME of the Big Lake VOR. So that means if it's standard turns, if they said, didn't say non-standards, this would be the hold. And that's easy because that's going to be a direct entry in that case. And if we look at it from the, if you were for whatever reason, so if they say hold south of the 360 radial of the 10 DME. So in this case, because 360 is up here, you can't quite use it that way because that's saying from, right? We're using the from indication. The rule of thumb for the PTD, and I know this is reverse sensing here, the rule for the PTD so in this case, you know, it doesn't quite work, this PTD concept, because you're not flying towards a known fix. It's not, you're not going to it. In this case, because you're holding on the 360 radial, this is where you have to actually think it through a little bit, because you can't think, you're not crossing theoretically the VOR at the 360 radial. So in this case, you do have to use your, I don't know of a really quick rule of thumb, and there might be one out there, I'm sure, but I usually they're not too complex. They'll usually keep you on the same radial for this particular scenario because, you know, they might be holding you there predominantly for, let's say, for traffic. You know, if it's not a published, if it's an unpublished hold, it'd be for traffic. But let's give you another example where they say hold on the oops. Again, this to me wouldn't make sense because if they're doing this, we got to think of it as, why are they doing this? They would be doing this to predominantly hold you there for traffic, to allow traffic to get by, or whatever reason it may be. Let's say you're going towards a approach and they need to just hold you there because there's two other airplanes shooting the approach, or holding at the published hold and they can't stack you in for whatever reason. Let's just hypothetically say they say hold north of the 10 DME, right, on the 360 radial. Well, that's a weird one because that would require you to, if it's right-hand turns, to be doing this sort of scenario, right? And in that case, you would come in and that would be a parallel entry. And since it's right-hand turns, a parallel entry, the first entry, re-entry turn is a opposite turn. So left turn to re-intercept the 360, but it'd be a 180 heading. You'd fly to the VOR in the 180 in this case. That's when you would twist it and then do your holds. But then what? And then they'd have you re-intercept the 360 radial. That doesn't really make sense to me in that case. Most of the time, if this is something that would happen, it'd be a direct entry on a DME hold while you're flying along. That might not be published. So there you go. That's essentially it. That is the two holds, and then just a discussion on unpublished holds that are en route, let's say, en route towards your flight. The only other thing I can think of as a hold that I'd like to talk about is approach hold. So let's look at a couple of them. So Talkeetna has one, and you're typically going to come from Urto. And you'd come inbound, and in this case, if you're coming direct to JAWSPO and doing the hold, more than likely you're going to do a parallel entry into it. You could get away with a direct hold. It just depends on where you're coming from. This one's published, so you can really think it through. If they tell you to, if they don't give you an instruction to go direct to Talkeetna, they're expecting you to do this hold. So if you're not even doing Urto, let's say you're coming using GPS direct. In this case, most of the time, if you're coming from the south, you're going to just do a direct hold right into the turn and then go straight in. If you're coming from, let's say, the west, however, and they tell you to go to JAWSPO, again, you're going to do a direct hold and then go in. The only time it would be a particular type of entry would be if you're doing the missed approach. So you do the missed approach, and in this case you do a parallel entry right into the hold. So in these situations you would need to just really visualize and practice using your judgment there. Same thing would apply with respect to a GPS hold. You'd still want to tune what radial you'd be on, meaning basically tune the OBS to the same heading you are flying towards that fix, and then use the PTD analogy. And what's nice is if you are using a GPS, such as the Garmin 650, like this one, most of the time, if it's a published hold, it will tell you how to enter that hold. ForeFlight also does it for you in some cases too. We'll show some of those advanced examples in other videos. All right, that's what I have for holds. What I'd like to do for the next video is we're going to take a look at the Ted Stevens ILS runway 7 approach, where we do an arc into the ILS. So that'll be our next video.